Well, we finally have an answer to a very good question. How much money will the four incoming Big 12 schools make during their first 2 years in the league? Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports provides us some answers with his reporting. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we talk Big 12 football, we talk college football, college basketball, all from a Big 12 slant, and plenty of conference realignment as well. Please consider subscribing if you have not already, and make sure you hit that bell to know when it is that I'm going live, which happens twice a week, or when I'm dropping content for you like this. Again, the plan with the schedule is to go live tonight. Didn't want to compete with the Cowboys 49ers football game last night, but we'll get after it tonight. So make sure you join me for the live show. This is a very good question that we have answered now by Dennis Dodd, and something that I can remember raising this question a while back. I can remember people asking in the chat about this, and we just never really saw any info about it. But it is, okay, look, the Big 12 has a new TV deal. That doesn't start for a couple of years. So how much money will the four incoming schools actually make while they're here in the league for the next 2 years? Let me just read to you from Dennis Dodd's article here. He starts by mentioning, should an early exit by Texas and Oklahoma from the Big 12 be agreed upon, the negotiated financial penalties associated with those departures would be utilized to aid the conference's expansion. Those monies would help make whole the 8 legacy Big 12 programs whose media rights payouts are being diluted to help fund the arrival of the league's newest members. So 8 of the legacy Big 12 schools agreed to give up $16 million over these next 2 years, which is about 19% of the $42.6 million annual distributions. It's $8 million per year. So for the upcoming season, 2023-2024, all those schools, Oklahoma State, K-State, Iowa State, etc., the 8 schools, they're all going to give up $8 million apiece out of that $42 million that comes in order to give some money to the 4 incoming schools. Each of the 4 new Big 12 members are set to receive $18 to $19 million annually, approximately 40% of the original annual distribution. So the 8 schools are going to give up 20% of their cut so that the new schools can receive $18 to $19 million for the next 2 years, which still more than doubling what that payout was in the American Athletic Conference for the 3 that are coming from that world. And then once you get on the new deal, then they'll be totally whole with everybody else, which is obviously that figure that's just over $31 million. So this will be a huge financial boom for the 4 incoming schools, which I think we already knew was going to be the case, but this now just confirms it. And also, it's really some good news, I would say, in a lot of ways, even for the 8 schools that are having to cough up $8 million in the short term, because if Texas and Oklahoma were to leave early, which it seems like all the momentum has been pushing towards them still jumping off a year early, the money that would be taken in at that point from Texas and Oklahoma to have to leave, the exit fee, and then whatever's going to be on top of it for leaving early, that would then go back to basically make all these schools whole. And I would think, and then some, likely with what that total would be. So you would be getting the money back. And it certainly is worth it for long-term stability for the league, right? You have to do something to make it worth the while of these 4 new schools coming in right now. You knew that you were going to have to cough something up. And then if Texas and Oklahoma leave, feels like it could just be better for everybody. If they skip that last year, you can be made whole financially with all this, and everybody just kind of wipes their hands and moves on. Here's more from Dodd's article. It says, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF will each receive a full share of media rights revenue when the Big 12 begins its new deal in the fall of 2025. That full share would be a base figure of $31.6 million annually. Big 12 officials believe the all-in figure will approach $50 million per school once the NCAA tournament and college football playoff revenue is added. If Texas and Oklahoma leave after the 2023-24 season, they would be on the hook for early termination fees, with each surrendering at least their final year of media rights distribution. CBS Sports previously reported those early exit fees could total as much as $168 million. I feel like I got to say that like Dr. Evil. $168 million. However, such a penalty would likely be negotiated down to about 60 to 65% of the original total, industry sources said. That final figure would go a long way to helping the remaining legacy Big 12 programs recoup the $16 million dilutions they agreed upon. It sure would, and that 60 to 65%, again, that's a number that we've been hearing fairly consistently lately. What Dodd is putting out here is pretty in line with what's been coming out lately. Here's a quote from Bob Bowlesby. How about that? Remember that guy? Bob Bowlesby says, quote, that money for the 4 new schools has to come from someplace, so the other members have to take a dilution as a result of it. That's the only place to go get the money, but in the end, whatever the conference gets out of OU and Texas and exit fees and makes on the grant of rights will likely go to reimburse the schools. It will likely balance itself out pretty well. Again, very much worth it for the schools in this conference right now to go ahead and do this, even though it might be painful in the short term. Now, on the topic of Texas and Oklahoma leaving, here's what Dodd adds. He says, well, there has been growing buzz for a deal for Texas and Oklahoma to depart the SEC early is near. There is no evidence of formal negotiations. The programs retained SEC media advisor Alan Gold in their pursuit of a deal. The Longhorns and Sooners originally committed to the Big 12 through the term of the current deal when new commissioner Brett Yormark took over in August. However, their stance has changed about a month later, sources said. That's very interesting. Texas and Oklahoma. I assume this all means like not just publicly the lip service that Texas and Oklahoma give to the legalities of it, saying, hey, we'll be here through the end of the deal, but even privately told Yormark, whatever, we'll stick it out to the end of the deal, and then changed about a month later. More from the article, it says speculation has raged that Texas and Oklahoma have no desire to play the 4 new Big 12 members, though they have already committed to remain in the league for the upcoming season. The conference is in the process of finalizing a schedule for all 14 programs, which we've now seen a couple of times, should happen by the end of the month, reportedly. So all that, I would say, seems pretty consistent with what's been coming out here lately. More from Dodd. The legacy Big 12 programs shared money from their current distributions, knowing Fox and ESPN likely wouldn't pay equal value for 4 new members. Okay, so the Big 12 schools here, the remaining 8 schools, realized that they weren't going to get the current media partners, Fox and ESPN, to be like, oh, you guys have 4 incoming schools? Great, we'll pay you the same amount per school now that they're coming into the league. That would be basically your pro rata clause. That's not what happened. And the Big 12, according to Dennis Dodd, did not ask for that. Wisely, of course, they were not going to get that. They knew that. For there to be any new agreement on an early exit, Fox would have to be compensated for the loss of Texas and Oklahoma from its existing deal. CBS Sports reported last month that the compensation could come in the form of the Longhorns and Sooners playing non-conference games in Big 12 stadiums after they joined the SEC. Again, that's something we've talked about here on this channel. We read that report, so that should not be shocking. An industry source told CBS Sports, quote, they would have to play games in the Big 12 footprint so Fox and ESPN can have value. If ESPN and Fox are happy, the Big 12 would be happy. That stuff, not so much new. I think we all kind of knew that, but there are your figures. Fans of the 4 incoming schools, BYU, Houston, UCF, Cincinnati, $18 to $19 million these first 2 years, and then after that takes a big jump up to the full $31 million plus that the Big 12 schools will be getting with the new TV deal. We'll see what happens with Texas and Oklahoma. My feeling still is it would be most likely that they are going to leave a year early, and when push comes to shove, something will get done here, but we shall see. We shall see. You know that I'll keep you updated here on this channel. Again, consider subscribing if you have not. College football, Big 12 football, college basketball, conference realignment, all here on this channel all the time. And you can support the channel on Venmo at John-Kurtz-4. Appreciate you guys. Catch the live show tonight, and I will talk to you soon.